We got it. We got him. Alderman, we're getting ready to start the committee. Alderman Dannerworth? Okay. Oh, we got to wait on Alderman Hayes and Alderman Martinez. Was he back there? Oh, okay. Oh, Hayes is coming.
Okay, I'll announce the meeting. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:05. It is time for Committee of the Whole. Deputy Clerk, if we could have a roll call.
Alderman Martinez.
Aye.
Felix.
Aye.
Newsom.
Aye.
Turner.
Present.
Donaldworth.
Present.
Florian.
Present.
Hayes.
Present.
Bolton.
Present.
Guzman.
Present.
Okay, you have a quorum. I need a motion and a recommendation to seat a chair or pro tem mayor for the January 16, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Alderman Martinez, second.
Second.
Alderman Turner. And then the
See who-
recommendation.
Yeah, who is the motion to seat?
Martinez. Oh,
Yeah.
Alderwoman Newsom.
Who
She's
are
got
we
my vote.
designating as the chair? Wait, what?
you.
I'll second that.
All right.
Motion to seat Alderman Newsom as the what is it?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem for purposes of this Committee of the Whole.
Okay, so that's Turner. You need a second then. to that.
Second.
Okay, Felix to seat Alderman Newsom as pro tem mayor.
Procedural vote, voice vote is sufficient.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion pass.
Thank you. We done roll, do we need to call to order now?
We're already called to order. We've done the roll call,
Okay.
so we'd be going on to 1C.
Item C. Item C, a motion to approve the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from Monday, December 11th, 2023. Can I get a motion on the floor?
I so move.
Motion by Alderman Bolton.
Second.
By Alderman,
Second.
what's your name? Turner. Are there any questions to this motion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item D, a motion to approve the Committee of the Whole minutes from Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Alderman Turner. Second by Alderman Martinez. Was that
Felix.
Alderman Felix? Are there any questions to the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Audience time. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on any committee of the whole agenda item? Being none, we'll move on to item 3, old business. Item A, prohibition of sale of unregulated hemp products. And the sponsor of this ordinance is Mayor Taylor. Mayor Taylor proposes amending Article 6, cigarettes, and tobacco of Chapter 14, licenses and miscellaneous business regulations, to ban the sale of unregulated hemp, THC, and kratom products by businesses licensed to sell tobacco products. Were you going to speak on that, Corporation Counsel?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I'll keep this brief. A number of communities have moved forward with regulations against these specific types of products. What we're not talking about today is regulated cannabis. Cannabis that is sold at dispensaries that are licensed by the state, like the two that we currently have in Fountain Square. What we're discussing tonight are these unregulated hemp derivatives. If we could go to the next slide. And let's go one more forward. So what the nation has seen is a proliferation of specific types of products that go under a number of different names, whether they are Delta 8 THC, Delta 10 THC, THCO. You're seeing a number of different products that are synthesized from industrial hemp. Industrial hemp is an agricultural product. It's basically the same plant as the cannabis that is sold in dispensaries, but has a much lower concentration of the psychoactive elements, which is THC. The 2018 Farm Bill basically said that you can grow industrial hemp wherever, nationwide, and it is fully legal. The expectation was that product could be used for paper, could be used for rope, it could be used for clothing, and could not be used to synthesize any sort of psychoactive drug. Well, chemistry got ahead of the law, and there are a number of entrepreneurs who have figured out how to take basically bales of industrial hemp, which if you tried to consume it all, whether by smoking it or ingesting it, your body would reject the huge amount of industrial hemp you'd have to actually consume before getting high. They figured out how to chemically distill that down to these very powerful psychoactive compounds that do not chemically qualify as regulated cannabis. And so basically what this has done is it's created a gray market. It has created a gray market where you will see in gas stations, tobacco stores, other areas where products that are just as powerful, if not more powerful, as what is sold in our regulated dispensaries are being sold. It is not subject to the taxes that go to the state and go to the city. It is not inspected. It is not regulated in any way. And unlike THC, unlike regulated cannabis, it could be sold next to schools. There is actually no prohibition on age because it exists in this very strange legal gray area. That is a long-winded explanation for why a number of communities have begun to impose bans on these types of products. There is also a substance called kratom, or kratom, which is often sold in the same types of retail establishments. It comes from a plant that originates in Southeast Asia. It has both stimulant and sedative effects, sometimes at the same time. And it also exists in this legal gray area. So, as I mentioned, there are a number of communities, including Highland Park and some other communities in Lake County that have decided to impose regulations on these. The easiest way to regulate these is to basically say that anyone who holds a tobacco license is barred from selling these. Most retailers, if they are choosing to sell this, they are also selling cigarettes, and they don't want to give up that part of their business usually. There are other communities that have gone to a much wider ban. The legality of that is still kind of in question. And so kind of the narrow and easiest way to deal with this, we advise, is based on preventing anyone with a tobacco license from selling these. The police department already conducts sales checks on tobacco licensees, so this would be something that could be reviewed as part of the normal course of business, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Alderman Hayes.
Thank you. Council, if you could help us understand or maybe provide a little bit more detail on why it would not extend to the non-tobacco retailers. You touched on that a minute ago. Is that a liability issue or?
It's not really a liability issue, quite honestly. What other communities have struggled with is that there may be certain products that contain CBD, which is another derivative of this, that are in a lot of additives that are commonly sold in grocery stores. And so we were trying not to overlap too much and ban things that were sold in health stores and grocery stores. Highland Park, for instance, has moved forward in a full and complete ban of this for any retailer. Like I said, the point of the point of easiest access is through the tobacco regulations, because we also do know who those businesses are and conduct spot checks on them. That said, we could move forward to a wider ban.
Would it be cannibalizing any other effort or ordinance? I guess, what's the drawback of us adopting it universally throughout the city on any retailer, not just tobacco retailers?
Yeah, I mean, it's really the question is enforcement and who we're focusing on.
Alderman Guzman.
I got a couple questions. First one, the main, why can't we tax this? So you said something about it's not taxable, so why not?
Well, it is subject to our standard sales tax. It is not subject to the almost 30% tax that is imposed by the state on cannabis. And the question of whether we have the ability to single out specific products for an additional sales tax without state authorization, that's where we're pretty limited. So could we say, instead of banning these, say that any of these products, we want to impose an additional tax on that? We are constitutionally limited from doing that. We can prevent their sale, but we can't tack on another 30% of the price, for instance. Without state authorization. If the state did it, that'd be fine. That'd be fine.
Okay, so next question. Okay, so it's basically legal. The only problem is the age limit, and it needs to be regulated more. So why not, instead of going out on a complete ban, do a 18 or 21, and then because, I mean, state of Illinois or the U.S. Department of Health or what is the, I can't remember. USDA is the one who regulates the health and all that stuff. So if they haven't regulated or anything, it's not our position to just ban it straight out. I mean, we can tax it, we can age limit it, but I mean, it's completely legal, so keep it going.
Alderman Martinez.
Yeah, in my ward alone, I have at least 4 smoke shops, and I want to know how would this affect their business, if it would at all. I know some are dependent on their sales.
I don't know what the what percentage of sales it is. You do see a lot of smoke shops that are offering these products. As I said, they exist in a legal gray area. They're not regulated by the FDA. They're not regulated by the state. And they are not considered a controlled substance, even though they have been documented to have very similar effects as to controlled substances.
And I have one more question. Do we know roughly how many businesses in Waukegan are selling this products? I know they're in gas stations, but do we have roughly how many?
No, because it's not required. You're not required to get a separate license for it. So I don't think that we've done any, and I don't know if, yeah, so Noel is shaking your head no. So we haven't done any sort of survey on this.
Okay, to follow up with that, why not, instead of putting an extra tax on it or anything, regulate it with the age, and then put an extra license for it itself? And then we can grab it that way. You know, maybe, I don't know, $500 or $1,000 for this license to sell it over the kids, over adults who are 18 or 21 and over. We can't tax it according to Corporation Council because the state can, but we can't. But we can actually put a license added on to a license to anybody who wants to sell it within our city.
Mary?
And,
Hold on. Alderman Turner.
so if we go that route, can we also add on there, like, to limit it to schools, like around, like, not be around schools? Is that something you can also add, or?
Conceivably, if you wanted to basically create a business license to allow this, you could add on conditions like no sales to anyone under the age of 18, and you could also say that no business licenses would be issued within a certain distance around, you know, public or private schools, daycares. You know, we could mimic language that is used for other, similar to what cannabis dispensaries use.
And is this currently only in a private, like in the private sector? Are people selling this on off market? Is that something that we know, like any of that data?
You mean like selling it on the black market, like out of their cars or stuff?
Outside, like, are kids selling this outside, and are they getting a hold of this? Is that?
I think you know, I think the concern is that it is being sold in what are otherwise considered to be legitimate retail establishments, and that are advertising it. You know, the black market is the black market, and we have command staff here who could talk about, you know, if you have any issues with that. I don't know if we've had any public safety issues with these products or encountering people who have consumed them, and they could speak to that, or perhaps we could have someone with fire speak to that.
So we haven't had an issue in the black market. When you look at hemp, it's less than a gram, so it's 0.3 legally. If it's under 0.3 of a gram, it's considered hemp. Anything over that is considered cannabis.
So it's a form.
Chief, have you encountered any issues with, like, either minors or others who are intoxicated from these hemp kind of alternatives, like the Delta 9 or?
So it's difficult to know. So we've encountered many juveniles that they appear high on a substance, but it's hard to say what. We don't, you know, now that we don't speak to juveniles unless parents are present, so it's very difficult for us to get direct answers.
Alderman Turner. I have a question.
Thank you. So what's the, and I know the mayor's not here, but we have to ask, what's the intent on this ban? There's one question I would ask. The other thing is the legal product, and DEA is not banned. It's not on the schedule. Was it Schedule C or something? It's a legal product, and the state isn't regulating it. The federal government isn't regulating it. And Chief says it's not really a problem. We don't even know who's using it, or if someone is using it, and to what effect it is. I don't see why we're pursuing it. Why create another unenforceable regulation, and taxing it wouldn't mitigate its usage amongst those who use it. So I think it's really kind of a moot issue. I don't understand the rationale. Why even bother with it?
Alderman Bolton?
The one component, part of this that I'm concerned with, since I work with those that struggle with addiction, the part where it says there's THC in there, working for a methadone program, if you're positive with a product with THC in it, you have dropped positive according to your toxication, your drug test. So one thing, while we're considering this, we definitely need to look at, are we encouraging addiction? Because we know already what's out there. They're lacing their marijuana with fentanyl, and I think this is just adding to the explosion, especially those that are underage. So we want to make sure we're not encouraging more problems.
I would like to say, when we're thinking about the safety of our community, when we're talking about safety and our children in our community, we need to be banning everything that we can ban that they can legally go into a store and get if it's not a benefit to them. I think we need to be looking out for their safety, because we know that a lot of young adults, children, don't make the right decisions. And we need to be looking out for their behalf and their safety.
No one's saying that
Hold
it's
on,
unsafe.
hold on. Alderman Hayes.
So I agree with Alderwoman Newsom and Alderwoman Bolton, and I would just add to that the decision we're called on to make is what's best for the community, and we carefully regulate alcohol. It's not just about the taxes. It's regulated for other reasons. We regulate alcohol and tobacco, marijuana, gambling, the driving age. We regulate a lot of things for a lot of reasons. And I don't think we want to be so cavalier as to just say, well, it's not regulated by the federal government, so why do we care? I think that if we're thinking about what's best for the community, and more likely than not, kids that are younger than 18 or think that they can get their hands on this a little bit easier, doesn't sound like there's a lot of information out there, but I don't think there's any harm in banning it. I think the harm comes if we just say, well, it's not regulated, so why should we regulate it? So I agree that the city council needs to step up and do something about it.
Hold on. We have Noel, Planning and Zoning.
Just to share some insight with you, I learned that this was already on the mayor's agenda at the time that I brought it to her attention, but I brought it to her attention because my staff in their 20s brought it to my attention, specifically concerned about things they were hearing that were happening in our community with high school age kids. And they said, we think the city should regulate these things because there's a problem in this community with kids doing this. And that's from my staff in their 20s.
How about, if I may?
Hold on. She had her hand up. Alderman Florian.
Thank you, Alderman. Mayor Pro Tem, I don't know what to call you today, but. So, as a healthcare professional, the two things that really stick out to me here, it's not only unregulated, but it's untested. You know, alcohol's been around forever. I know some of us are okay with it, some of us aren't. But we have a way to test someone to see if they're intoxicated by a law, a level. I don't believe there's any way to test anybody for this stuff yet. And children's brains react differently to substances than adult brains. And certainly, there hasn't been a whole lot of studies done on THC. Certainly, it hasn't been studied on kids, I can guarantee you. It really bothers me that, you know, there's no age limit, there's no regulation of this whatsoever, and I just don't think it's a necessary thing. You know, nobody needs these particular things for that their health, per se. I do have one question, Stu, about a potential, I think I know the answer to this, but any liability created by giving this, like someone suggested we allow 18-year-olds to be purchasing this. Like, is there any liability on the city or on the person selling it if we do? I mean, alcohol is 21, so why would we allow this to be 18?
I think, that's a very good point. What I do believe is that the state probably will be stepping in the next session. I know that Senator Bob Morgan has been very active in this. One of the hardest things is to define what these products are, because they do change. They change names, they change chemical compounds, and like I said, it is really, when legislation tries to get ahead of chemistry, it's difficult. One of the things I am a little bit hesitant about the concept of licensing to take revenue, which would basically kind of legitimize the sale of an unregulated product. So that's one thing that it does give me pause about this. I feel very confident that we can definitely prevent the sale of this by tobacco retailers. I think that we can absolutely ban the sale of the products that are identified. It's going to be kind of the edge cases when we have Delta 11 or the various other permutations of it that I'm more concerned with.
Alderman Turner.
Thank you. So just for clarification, it says THC, unregulated hemp THC kraton products. So I think if we're going to do this, we need to specify ingestible hemp products, because people make paper and baskets or whatever out of hemp, right? That would be one. And two, after listening to Alderman Hayes and Alderman Florian, but also hearing Alderman Guzman's comments, I think it does make sense to put some age limit on the sale. I was thinking 18, but Alderman Florian points out alcohol, cigarettes, etc. are 21. I think we simply specified it can't be sold. It should be age restricted. No sales to persons under 21.
Alderman Guzman.
One final comment. Okay, Alderman Hayes says we regulate alcohol and cigarettes. Actually, we don't regulate it. We just follow state law. So state law comes up with all these regulations, and then it trickles down to municipalities and villages, and then we follow state law on what age limit and the sale of to minors and so on and so forth. So we actually don't regulate. I mean, we do work, I feel that we do work with home rule, so we do have some kind of leeway in that, but we don't actually regulate. It comes down from state law. So this is not state law right now, so we can actually work with it until state law comes into enforcement, like Corporation Counsel says they might bring it up in the next session. And then whatever we do, or whatever we say becomes mute, and we go by what state law says. So if I believe that we should go forward with this, put an age limit and maybe a business license, because it is not, they're selling it either way. So if they don't come to Waukegan, they'll go to North Chicago, they'll go to Highland Park. Unless it's done statewide or nationwide, there'll be a way to go get it 5 or 10 minutes away from here. So we're actually losing the revenue, and it is legal product. And there is no DA or USDA that has outlawed this. So I put a motion that we move forward with certain restrictions.
Alderman Felix.
Just to second that, yes, I do agree that we should put some our own restrictions until the state gets involved, if they do, because if we just get rid of it, so we won't know where they're coming from, and it could can cause a dump of just these products out in the public where we won't even have any kind of control. It'll just be out there being, so I feel like if we kind of are proactive in this manner where we're putting some kind of restrictions until the state comes in, I think that would be a better approach. So, are you
Was
guys?
this was just for discussion or a referral to the,
Yeah, I mean, this is, there is a proposal in the packet for a full ban of the sale of these products by tobacco retailers. The committee of the whole could make a recommendation to bring that forward, to bring forward a complete ban by all retailers, a age limit, which is what I think Alderman Guzman and Alderman Felix are endorsing. I guess it depends on what gets, how many people do we have here? We have 9? Oh, we have,
good night.
So,
yeah, we have 9.
so there's one motion.
Whatever gets 5 votes.
There's a
one
motion all-
pending. I guess can we make a competing motion to endorse the full ban of the?
Was there actually a motion made, or did we just call the
Yeah,
agenda?
no,
item?
I made a motion to move forward with restrictions.
Okay.
And then Alderman Felix seconded.
The item A says prohibition of sale of unregulated hemp products. So that is what we are voting on, or if you don't want that, then
No.
vote no.
Yeah,
And then if you want to amend it, can we do it after that, or what?
We should get amended first. right?
actually, it gets
A
amended
motion
first.
on already, so.
I'd like to amend it if we can.
Yeah, so the way, and this is a little bit different, committee of the whole, we've kind of done this a little bit differently than what we've done, because this is really your opportunity to craft legislation. The proposal that the mayor put forward was a ban of the retail sale by tobacco licensees. If there's support for that, someone can make a motion. There was a motion to, kind of a substitute motion in this case, to do to impose certain regulations. And I'd probably want to get a little bit more clarity on that. Is it 21 years old? Is it limits on sale? Would you propose to do limits similar to what is for cannabis dispensaries, about location and things like that?
So what it seems like, so we need to hold this over. I guess I'm going to hold this over for 2 weeks so I can speak to Corporation Counsel, and then we could get everything clarified legally and everything move forward.
To come up with
So are you withdrawing your motion?
Correct, and putting a hold over.
Okay.
so it stays in committee of the whole?
Yep, and we'll bring it back in 3 weeks on February 2nd.
Okay.
We
February
can't try to vote on the actual proposed ordinance as it sits.
Well, we've got a holdover, so you could try and do a 2/3.
But isn't he holding over with age restrictions? So,
He's holding over the discussion because he wants to discuss further other amendments that he could make. You could override that holdover and continue the discussion. Overriding the holdover would take 2/3, it would take 6 votes.
So, all right. Look like it's held over for more discussion. Are you going to come back on February 2nd with a different motion?
Actually, I will be contacting.
Talking about Corporation Counsel?
So Alderman Guzman has indicated that he has questions. I can work with him on those questions. At that time, he can propose basically an alternate proposal under this agenda item, and then you guys can vote. You can vote either on the original proposal, and the mayor can speak to that,
Or in
you
case-
can go with the substitute.
Or in case any other alderman wants to make their own amendments to this ordinance as well. They may have some input too. So it's held over till February 2nd.
can I ask one question, Stu? Under this, I don't know, I think you have a different slide up there. Oh, no, maybe you do have the one. So under Kratom, it says, the third bullet point is, cannot be legally marketed as a drug, dietary supplement, or food additive, but not a controlled substance. What does that sentence mean?
What that means is that if you look at the packaging of this, it makes almost no claims and will often say that this is not a dietary supplement. This is, it is, the way these things are marketed are very strange because, you know, we've been tossing around the terms of, is it legal? Is it regulated? These are unregulated products that are not really recognized.
So that should say, but it is not a controlled substance.
But not a controlled oh yeah, cannot be, yes, yes.
Because it just didn't make sense the way it was
No,
written.
cannot, I see, there's a double negative in there.
Okay.
Thank you, yes. No.
I have something. However, we need to be informed that this is a stimulant which has been recognized as being unsafe. So we need to also consider those factors.
Okay, that item is held over till February 2nd, 2024. Committee of the Whole, I guess we'll have another one. Okay, item B is for discussion of passive speed control devices, speed bumps, humps, and tables, sponsored by Alderman Turner. And he's on his way back in.
Thank you for waiting, ladies and gentlemen, and apologize for the interruption. All right, so the line item is a discussion of passive control devices, speed humps, and et cetera. But I wanted to talk, I do want to speak about specifically speed humps and speed bumps, but I also want you to keep in mind that I think we need a multifaceted speed mitigation initiative. It's not so bad here in the wintertime, as we all know, but in the summertime, speed, reckless driving, loud noise, all those things impact how we live, right? Our quality of life, and they're dangerous. So speaking of speed humps and bumps and speed tables, the difference is a speed bump is what you see in parking lots, and you see them all over the place. We have hundreds of them right here in Waukegan. A speed bump is going to force you to slow your speed to 2 to 5 miles per hour. A speed hump is less aggressive, and it will cause you to reduce your speed to between 15 and 20 miles an hour. And then a speed table is even less aggressive than that. It's probably going to reduce your speed down to about 30 or so. So what I'd like to do, also I want to discuss rumble strips and the installation of radar signs as part of an overall kind of traffic or speed mitigation program, right? I would like to do, at a minimum, I would like to see a pilot program to install speed humps and or rumble strips and the radar signs in school zones, along with other signage like school speed zones, slow down, crosswalks, etc. That's why I want to bring this for discussion. As I think everyone knows, I've mentioned this for many years, and it's something that has been brought to my attention through observations and complaints by numerous residents across the city. I think we're all aware of the plague on these loud speeding cars, particularly on our side streets in some areas, and I think we need to do something about it. This is my suggestion.
I wanted to ask a question, and it's been talked about, the legal ramification for the city to have those on public streets. Can you speak to, Bob? Risk management, can you speak to some of the issues that the city could possibly face?
Well, not legal so much, but liability-wise, I can speak to.
Okay, liability.
We do have a procedure for speed humps that we developed a few years ago. That all we said in the liability, our insurance companies, is that they want a process for speed humps, not just put them where you want to, but like a stop sign has a process and that you got to go through a procedure to get a stop sign somewhere. All we're saying with speed humps is you got to do the same thing. What's the process we want to develop for speed humps? We did look at 3 streets last year for speed humps, and we followed the same procedure that Evanston's probably the biggest community around here that speed humps. But Evanston has speed humps on every side street because that's just the route they wanted to go. Putting one speed hump on a street is ineffective because if you put one, the person's going to speed up to that hump, slow down to 5 miles, go over it, and he's going to make up for that speed on the other side of the speed hump. That's why the federal highway, when they look at speed humps, they want streets that are long, they want them every 300 feet on a street, and that will prevent the person from gaining that speed back. And pretty much if you have side streets every block, really the recommendations is you put them on all the side streets, so, because if you don't, you're just diverting traffic from this street to the next one down the road. And that's all we want, is that we did develop a procedure that did look at a speed study of the street. Is the street long enough to put them on that street, to put multiple ones before stop signs or after stop signs? And then it did look at emergency routes. Federal Highway Authority doesn't really recommend them on emergency routes where the fire trucks are going because you do have to slow down lower than 15 miles an hour to go over a speed hump. They do not recommend speed bumps on streets. And really the liability about temporary ones, there was talk one time, do we want is that as cars go over temporary speed humps, they start moving. And then if someone walks or they ride a bike over it and that speed hump starts to move, that's where our liability comes in. And that's all from a risk standpoint, is I'm worried about the liability of putting them where they shouldn't be. There are cities that have been sued for speed humps on their streets that they're not designed right. And it takes a design to put it permanently one on there because there's certain lengths, certain heights, certain width they got to be so you don't bottom out your cars on them. And a lot of schools will tell you that the Federal Highway doesn't recommend them in school zones because school buses going over them. As we know, school buses don't have seatbelts. As they're going home, the kids bounce as they go over them, so they're not really recommended in school zones from the Federal Highway Authority. Yes.
Alderman Floria?
So you looked at 3 different streets, and none of them qualified according to the
According to what,
the
and we use the
guidelines.
exact same standards that
Okay.
Evanston used, none of them qualified.
And if this passes, does that eliminate that process?
Well, I think we still would have to develop a process to determine where we're going to put them. No matter, we would lower the numbers to compare to what the Federal Highway Authority recommends the speeding is on streets. We'd still need to develop a process, and that's what's going to protect us from liability.
Okay, and how much does a speed hump cost? What did you say we should do, humps or bumps? I forget.
Humps.
Okay, how much does one
A
cost?
permanent speed hump, you'd have to ask Public Works, but what the Federal Highway says is between $6,000 and $8,000 to put one in.
Okay, how many are you proposing we do, Alderman Turner?
So I did not look at permanent installations because I wanted a pilot project, and that will allow us to, measure the effectiveness, right, or ascertain if how effective they are.
Well, those studies have already been done. He just said they're not effective.
Well, I didn't do it. So you
Are
asked
you an
me.
expert at that?
You asked me how much are they, and I'm telling you, I didn't look at them because
No,
that's
I'm
not
saying
what
about
I was
how
after.
effective they are.
Well, they're effective. They're very effective. Why do
You
they?
just said they're not.
I don't care what you said. I'm telling
more
you they are. I
effective.
slow
Wait.
down. You ever been over one?
Humps.
I drive over them all the time, and believe me, I
But
slow
you
down.
speed, and they
I-
don't slow
no,
you
I
down.
sped one time, Lynn. One.
How many tickets did you say you got? 24?
No, I
no,
just
no,
said they stopped me. They're always
Wait.
picking on me.
Anyway.
Like you.
Anyway. So how
Cops
many
in
are you
Lynn, Florida,
proposing?
are always picking on me.
How many are you proposing we buy at $8,000 apiece?
Well, it's not going to be $8,000 a piece. They cost about $118 per section. You buy them in sections. So let's say it's $120 for a section. They're 6 foot long, so 4 on an average street. Probably need 4 of them. Then you need 2 end caps. Those are $60 a piece. So you know,
I have
and
no
then
idea what
it's not cost prohibitive. They're not like super expensive. Additionally, you want to put up a sign. The sign is about $60, speed hump ahead, right? Now, we see these things, as Bob mentioned, they're in Evanston, they're in Chicago, all over the place. The ones that I'm looking at now, I can show you this on my thing, or you can look at it, I'll look at it with you, but they're very high visibility. You put up a high-vis sign, and they're designed so as to not cause a traffic hazard, right? But they get your attention. And then you drive through parking lots and you drive over those speed bumps all the time. I'm suggesting a speed hump, which again is much, much less aggressive.
Okay, but what about what he said about how people speed up to it, slow down, go over it, and then speed past it? What have you accomplished?
Right, exactly right. So,
Well, what have you accomplished?
if you put, say, 3 in a 1 block, a standard block, you put maybe 3 out there, then you mitigate. They won't do that. By the time they speed up, they'll be at the next hump. These things work. If they didn't work, they would not exist.
What about our snow plows?
They're designed for snow plows to go over them. And years ago, our snow plows were in such poor shape that we were patching them with stop signs, right? We have new plows, new trucks. This technology that these things are made out, the materials and the way you put them down with the 12-inch stakes into the ground. Right, and somebody says, "Oh, you poke a hole in the ground, water gets in there, makes a pothole." We got millions of potholes anyway, so I think it's worth a look-see. I think we need to have further discussion, including with Director of Public Works and the engineer. But I really think this is something that we need to address.
Can we ask the engineer's opinion about these as well?
Oh, okay, we got about 5 minutes because we got to start council meeting at 7. This item is only for discussion. Alderman, you, then you, then you.
So I think that if we actually want to move something forward, we're talking about the finish line. How about step 1 and I'll just start talking about the process? Because as Bob said, that's the first step. We need to develop a process of how to start.
I can send you all the process. We have the process written down. I'll send it.
We have a process already built in. Is it something that we use?
It's what we used last year when we did the 3 studies. We used that process to do the studies.
Okay, so we have a process in place. So if someone wanted to do a speed hump,
We have the process to run the study for it.
So can you describe that process? I know what.
It's not your turn.
Can you go briefly over what that process looks like?
Oh, wait. Before you go through that, Bob, I'm going to suggest that have you come back to the next committee of the whole with all of that information to present to the council, and then we can move forward with the process.
Put it in your council package, and we could talk about it at your.
Okay, and then we can move forward at length.
That's a good
I know that Alderman Turner had suggested around the schools, and you had made note that they don't want them around the
Most
schools.
schools don't want them in bus routes.
So can you make sure all of that information is in the packet?
Yes.
Alderman Martinez?
I just want to say that we're asking a lot of open-ended questions here that we're not going to get answered here tonight. One of my main complaints with a lot of my constituents is the speeding. I think it's a wonderful idea to do the pilot program. That way, the proof is in the pudding, whether it's going to improve it or not improve. At least we can go back and say, we tried this. It did not work. Speed bumps and put it to rest, or otherwise maybe it is effective. I mean, there's always 2 sides to every story. But that's one of the complaints that I get is the speeding. And a lot of times they do mention speed bumps. So I'm for it. And I like to see maybe, overall see what results we get and take it from there.
Thank you. Alderman Guzman?
Okay, final thing. I would want them in my ward. I want them in my ward. I think it'll slow traffic down immensely and everything. But you just mentioned that it was not effective. Then why did you guys put them in front of a bar down by the lake? If it's not so effective, why was it in front of a bar? Why? Because people were crossing the street and were going too fast. Then they decided to put them in front of a bar without council approval on a city street. So if they were not effective, why'd you put them in front of a bar? No, why did the city why did risk management and the city decide to put them in front of a bar?
Risk management had no,
Oh, you didn't have any input?
I had no input where they're doing, because I've recommended for the last year. that
Where's
they're not
Where's
installed
Chief Bridges?
He's not in here right now.
Okay, yeah, because we're about to be done anyway, but we'll continue the conversation next time, and let's make sure that Chief Bridges is on this conversation also.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We will come back in Committee of the Whole, February the 2nd.
Can I make
2024?
a point? I had asked tonight, we wouldn't have gotten to it anyway, but I had asked to bring back the styrofoam and the plastic bag discussion. We didn't really.
To the next
Yeah, so
meeting.
can we have
Can
that on
we-
the next agenda?
It'll be on the next agenda for February 2nd for discussion. All right, Committee of the Whole. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
Motion by Alderman Turner, second by Alderman Bolton. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned at 6:54. We'll be starting the council meeting in a few minutes. Thank you.